I talk a lot about balance because I'm thoroughly, thoroughly fascinated by the imbalance that I see in our culture, in my own life, in the clients I work with, and how that affects people's wellness, emotional, mental, and spiritual. One of the ways that I have really gotten fascinated in looking at balance is through the lens of the dual energies. Some might call them feminine, masculine, yin, yang, lunar, solar, being, doing, these energies that exist in duality in all things. And one of the things that I have become acutely aware of is how our culture favors the yang energy, which is that masculine doing energy. And because our culture favors it, so does the system that we use to heal. So in our culture, that's very much so a medical model system. And it's very much in favor of the doing energy, the masculine yang energy. And as a result, it also favors the component to that energy, which is the intellect over emotion, even though it's the emotional body that oftentimes in mental health treatment and or healing we're trying to access. So I find that interesting, and that is part of how I was trained, and it's largely how much of the system operates. We focus on cognitive behavioral therapy and we look for insight oriented work, all of which I've done and I think is so beneficial. I'm not saying it's not important, but without the balance of the more yin feminine energy, it is incomplete. And in realizing this, I realized that having these more cognitive based, insight oriented therapies was just half of the whole of the picture and not enough to help my clients heal. So that encouraged me to go down a rabbit hole that has led me to training in some really wonderful somatic methodologies, one of which is transformative touch. And it's bringing touch into the healing process, which is so symbolic of bringing that feminine, that body aspect, not just the mind, but the body itself. And so I wrote a blog all about transformative touch and how it has both changed my life and my practice and the necessity of touch as a healing component. And I would be really excited to talk to you about all of the ways in which transformative touch is an incredibly, incredibly profound method to help you heal. But for the sake of this brief video, I want to just say that we cannot heal our emotional life without incorporating the body. And one of the ways that the body communicates is through touch. It's its own language. And so if you're used to just thinking about and talking about your feelings, I want to encourage you to think about, in what ways could I use body work to help me in my healing? And we'll continue this conversation because I've got so much more to say about the healing power of touch. But in the meantime, you can read the blog that I wrote.